Hello, my name is Ellen. If you are a new viewer, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back. I'm so glad you are here. In this craft vlog, I will be sharing my creative process for how I'm going to assemble a crochet granny square crop top. I've been seeing an awful lot of these on Pinterest lately, and I've been inspired to make one. Now it is February and quite cold where I live, so this is not the most practical garment to be making this time of year, but it looked relatively simple and I haven't made a crochet project in a while. And I'm also fairly new to reading patterns, so I kind of just wanted to ease back into it in the new year, but I think this will be a really fun crochet project to start the year off with. That being said, I am making things more simple for myself. I chose a beginner level granny square pattern, and I'm using the same color yarn for the entire projects. I would like to premise this video by saying I unfortunately will not be able to give a step-by-step tutorial on how to make the granny square because the pattern that I used is technically copyrighted. If you would like to use the same granny square pattern, it is in this granny square source book, which is this amazing book my mom got for me for my birthday last year. Thanks, Mom. I used the light and lacy granny square, which is an 80 stitch square and is one of the smaller squares in the book. By the way, I'm not sponsored. I just really like this book, so if you want to check it out, I left a link in the description below. While we are on the topic of supplies, I am using this lovely Lion brand Mandala ombre yarn, which is 100% acrylic and requires a 5.5mm crochet hook. Also, I have already made the first granny square. This is what it looks like. This is the size of granny square that you get from that type of yarn. By the way, you don't have to use the same yarn as me, but keep in mind that if you use a different type of yarn, it may affect the size of your granny squares. Even though I can't do a tutorial for the granny square, I can at least show you how I'm going to assemble the top, and maybe you can apply that information to other tops that you yourself would make. By the way, if you don't want to spend money on this book, there are tons of free granny square crochet patterns available online, and I will link a few in the description below that I thought were just really pretty. Well, without further ado, let's get started. Welcome to my living room. This is where I do a lot of my crochet projects because it's just comfy in here, and this is where I can watch Disney movies and other shows while I work. I am unboxing my blocking board. If you do a lot of granny square projects and you don't have one of these, I highly recommend getting one. It will help your squares all be uniform and perfectly shaped when the project is over. I bought this last year off of Amazon, and I will link, and I'll try to find the exact one and link it in the description below if that is something you would like to check out. But the one thing I really liked about this is it has this adjustable thing on the back, so you can set it like that and then put whatever squares you're working on here. It comes with tons of these little metal rods, and I don't really have any complaints. It's been really, really nice to work with. But so far this is actually going to be my second granny square project. Good morning, fellow crafters. I got quite a bit of work done last night. About 5 granny squares finished, including the one that I put on my blocking board. And I honestly think I'm probably going to re-block because I used far too many of these little pins. But that's the goal today. I want to tie in the ends of my squares and block the ones that I have made, and kind of get an idea of how I want all of these squares to sit next to each other. And the reason I say that is because this project is turning out a little differently than I was expecting, in that I'm not sure what I was envisioning in my mind when I decided to use ombre multicolored yarn, but I guess maybe I thought each individual square would be the same color and it would all be even. Why the heck did I think that? But no, I am getting a lot of different variations of squares, all different colors. This one is more of a solid, and then I'm getting ones that are multicolored, but they are all from the same skein, so there is a consistency there in the shades and the colors, so they do technically all match. But there's a lot of randomness to it, and I'm not used to doing projects where there's generally a lot of randomness. There's usually a rhyme or reason to my patterns, they're usually repeating patterns, whereas this is just going to be randomized chaos at its finest. And honestly, it's kind of growing on me. At first I was like, this is gonna be ugly. And then the more I looked at it, I was like, I kind of like it. So I'm just gonna trust the process, keep making my squares, and then start putting this together and see what happens. So yeah, I am making really good progress. I'm really excited about the final outcome. Today is going to be a nice, relaxing day, probably a very productive day because I'm actually able to knock these squares out pretty quickly. And hopefully by the end of the day, I will have every square that I need for this whole project. That is the goal. Hello, it is quite late in the evening, which is why I come to you makeup free and wearing casual clothing because I'm probably going to go to bed pretty soon, but not before I work a little bit more on my crochet project. It's coming along very nicely. I have all of the granny squares that I need, and I have started making the miniature squares for the straps. I'm going to attach all of them together and I'll get a really nice kind of thick strap that will create a square neckline for my top. I also measured my bust to make sure that I had the correct number of squares. I want kind of a loose, relaxed fit for this top, so hopefully I got the measurements right and all of this will be fine and I won't have to make any more squares. Before I work more on the straps, I'm going to take all of my larger squares off the blocking board and start attaching all of them with a really nice crochet top stitch. It's the same kind of top stitch that I used for my previous granny square project. So I will show you guys how I do the top stitch. The challenge with this project so far has been that every square is slightly different than the others, which kind of makes this a fun, funky project. I mean, every square is from the same skeins of yarn and the same dye lot, so there is consistency there, but because of the nature of the yarn, it's all very randomized, as I kind of mentioned before. So just figuring out a nice sequence is a little bit of a challenge, but I think I've decided on the way that I want all of these to go together, and this is it. So I'm just hoping that it looks really great once I am done. Also, I'd like to mention that to attach all of these, I will be crocheting along the top edge of all of these first, attaching every single one at their corners. And I'm going to go back through and begin stitching all of these together. So there are going to be empty gaps along here. So basically, once I have crocheted all of my horizontal lines, I will go back in and crochet the vertical ones shut as well. This will make it easier for me to just finish off the project. It'll be one big sheet, and when I reach the end, I can crochet both of these sides together for the top. So this is my progress so far. I'm almost done. The main top portion is almost finished. I just need to attach it here at the back. I sewed all of my granny squares together using kind of this top stitch. So other than attaching this at the back, I also need to finish the straps. I really hope I got the right length. With this kind of thing, obviously I'm doing little baby granny squares, and I reached a point where I was like, well, if I add one more, then the straps might be way too long. So I'm gonna err on the side of caution, and I did it a little shorter, so hopefully it will be fine. This is what I have so far. I crocheted all the way around, and now I'm doing the same kind of top chain stitch in between each of these squares, so it has the same look of the rest of the top. Also, I'm basing these strap lengths off of the fact that I have a fairly long torso. So if you make one of these tops, the length of your straps might need to be different. Each of these straps is going to be about 17 inches, give or take. Hopefully that is the correct length. Okay, I have a couple issues with this top that I want to address. Just ignore the fact that I am wearing this blue sports bra thingy with it. I know it doesn't look good. The top itself doesn't look good. So what's gonna have to happen is I'm gonna have to redo some work. I'm gonna have to undo some of what I've done and redo some work. And this will be the second project this year where I have to undo a good portion of my work. And I am a little frustrated, but you know, this is how I learn. This is how I grow. But I will not accept defeat. So basically one of the main issues is this portion here. I think that it needs to be sitting a little higher up on my body, probably up to here. I made the straps too long, so it's sitting a lot lower than it should be. And I also don't think that this shape flatters me at all. It needs to be more fitted. Originally, I wanted it to be loose fitting. I wanted it to be relaxed, but I forgot one key element, and that is crochet does not sit on the body the same way that fabric does. So I'm gonna have to rethink the construction of this garment. What is happening with the straps is I did not position them correctly on the top to begin with. They are too far over. They're practically in my armpit. So the fit is wrong there. And the other issue is I just made it too big. So I tried to fix that issue by adding this tie to the back to cinch everything in and make it more fitted at the top. But it literally looks like I'm wearing a crocheted grocery bag. And I just can't. No, I'm not going out like this. So I'm gonna have to redo the straps. I'm gonna have to readjust the length of them, reposition them, and bring the top higher up. I think I'm also going to have to undo at least 1 or 2 lines here, remove 2 of the granny squares, and just make the top more fitted. I think that this can be saved. I just don't know how long it's going to take, because sometimes undoing work can pose new problems, especially since I've already tied in all of my ends. I was that confident that it was gonna look good. Rule of thumb, don't tie in your ends until you've tried on the piece and you're sure that it's gonna fit right, because this definitely doesn't fit right. So anyway, the next portion of the video is going to be me silently crying while I undo my work. Let's do this. It's late at night and it's raining outside, and I am working on my top. As you can see, I removed the straps, and now I need to take apart the top portion. Now, I do like the way that the front looks here, so I think what I'm gonna do is remove 2 of the back panels, which makes me kind of sad because I really did like this checker print that's going on here. But I think what's gonna have to happen is I will need to remove maybe this panel and just bring this together. So I guess kind of like that maybe. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and remove a couple of those panels, and then I'm gonna have to sew everything back together, and hopefully then it will fit properly. was touch and go there for a little bit, but I am actually really pleased with how this turned out. It fits so much better than it did a few weeks ago. I will admit, as you may have noticed, this video was a little bit disjointed. I filmed the intro for this weeks ago, and I actually ended up having to set this project aside because, to be completely honest, I got burnt out. And that happened when I realized that it didn't fit properly, and I had spent hours making extra pieces to this top that were not necessary, including that strap thing that I used to try and tighten the top. That was a braided string of that was a braided string of yarn, and it always takes me forever to make those. That's how I make the straps for some of my tank tops and other parts of different designs that I do. But it's very time consuming because I just sit there just braiding yarn for usually 1 or 2 hours to make a really long string. It's very durable, and it always matches the outfit because I'm able to use the yarn that I used for the rest of the garment, but it's time consuming. But all of that aside, the fit is so much better, and I am happy that I was able to kind of take the strap away from the back. So remember that little strap that went across the shoulders? I don't think I'll need to bring that back. I think the straps are gonna stay up fine without that. I know a lot of people say that crochet is something for the summertime. I kind of agree, but even standing here in a tank top and jeans, I feel kind of warm. Maybe that's because I've been moving around, but this would probably be a pretty warm top for the middle of summer. So this could be a good transition piece, maybe for some of the cooler days in the spring and maybe in the fall. I think that would make sense. Thank you so much for being here and for watching this craft vlog. If you have any questions about my process, please let me know in the comments below. I know that these videos aren't really tutorials, and I mean, this couldn't have been just because of the nature of the project and the fact that the granny square design is copyrighted. But I still wanted to share the process and show how you can use different granny square patterns to make a garment that is unique and one of a kind. I would like to mention real quick that this video is sponsored by me and my small business, Watermelon Designs. If you would like to check out my whimsical handmade home decor, jewelry, and accessories, I've left a link to my Etsy shop in the description below. Once again, thank you so much for being here. If you have not subscribed to my channel, please consider doing so. It really helps the algorithm know that I am here. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment, like the video, and hit the notification bell button because I do my best to upload regularly. Well, until the next one, I am out. Bye!